state legislators scrambling to come up with $200 million to fill the budget deficit. This after the Oklahoma Supreme Court struck down the tax on cigarettes. So here to set the record straight on what proposals aren't on the table, because there have been conflicting reports, circulating here. We have Democratic leader Scott Inman join us this morning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good morning. Glad to be here.
Yes, we're glad to get your perspective and ask you a few questions in the hot seat. I know you know where I'm about to go here. An online report was just released by the McCarville report saying that you and Governor Mary Fallin were pretty close to coming down with a deal, nailing down a plan to raise $1 billion in taxes for us. You're saying not a chance that that's accurate.
Well, I'm saying I wish it were the case. So last Tuesday, I sat down with Governor Fallin. Matter of fact, Senator Kay Floyd, on behalf of the Senate Democrats, sat down with the Governor Fallin, the three of us at her office, and we discussed things for about an hour and 20 minutes. We talked about our Restoring Oklahoma plan, which would include an increase in gross production tax, maybe restoring some income tax cuts, the governor's plan for a cigarette tax, things like that. But that was Tuesday. There were no specifics dealing with alcohol tax or wind taxes, all these other things. Cable tax, all these things that were reported. And so apparently Wednesday morning, Senate Republicans came together with the governor and Senate and House Republican leadership. And the Senate Republicans have put together a potential wish list of things that they might raise revenue with. And then the House Republicans apparently leaked that. House leadership leaked that on Thursday morning as a way to.
Is that confirmed?
It is, as a way to say that they tried to make it look like the governor and I had come together on all these taxes that really aren't very popular, as a way to really sort of torpedo the process, and that's unfortunate. But I can tell you this: the governor and I, we had a good, constructive conversation, and we're going to try to continue the dialogue this week.
Do you know who leaked?
We have,
names?
Having spoken with the governor's office, I know that there were only three entities: the Senate leadership, Senate Republican leadership, the governor's office, and House Republican leadership. The document was prepared, I believe, by the Senate Republican leadership. They didn't leak it. The governor didn't leak it. It only leaves one other entity left who had access to it, because I'd never seen the document until Thursday morning, after it had already been released.
And I do feel like there's a lot of confusion for everybody, who's not there on the front lines at the Capitol dealing with this. What proposals are on the table? What aren't? The cigarette tax gets shut down. So what are you discussing as legitimate plans to possibly fill this hole? So
when you look at the problem is much greater than just a $200 million hole created by the unconstitutional cigarette fee. We've got to, if we found $900 million last year, that would just be enough money to keep us from having further cuts. That wouldn't add one new dollar to education, one new dollar to health care. And so the plan that we're looking at needs to be greater than just that $900 million worth of revenue to fill a budget hole. We've got to start restoring cuts to education and health care. So as we look at it, the cigarette tax is certainly a part of it, but you need more revenue than just $200 million. And so we've put an increase in the gross production tax on the table. The governor would like to talk about a fuel tax. We've put an increase in income taxes on the table for high earners. So if you put the whole thing together in a grand bargain, as it were, I think we could get it done and raise the revenue necessary to balance the budget and invest in things that people are calling on us to invest in.
And I know you did a Facebook Live that I watched, and you said you can't tax your way to prosperity, but you can't cut your way to prosperity. And you think we've actually cut our way out of prosperity here in Oklahoma.
We did.
And it just snowballs,
That's right.
Next session could be worse. And I know there are two other fees that are still in the hands of Oklahoma Supreme Court, right? So what's the latest that you've heard on those?
So there's the car tax, the new car tax, and then there's the electric vehicle fee, something like that they created. The Supreme Court could come down as early as today with their decisions on both of those. I think the Supreme Court will hold the car tax constitutional and the car fee, the electric vehicle fee, unconstitutional. But if they rule them both unconstitutional, it's going to be another $102 million hit to the budget, which would necessitate a special session for sure.
Sure, and I know with those two, or with the cigarette tax, that was ruled unconstitutional, right? Because it was created in the last week of session. So were these created before? Does it actually have a shot of passing?
It's a two-pronged test. Not only does it has to, in order for it to be considered a tax, it has to be a new tax raising revenue, and then within the last 5 days of session. The cigarette fee was a tax, even though they called it a fee. This new car tax, as it were, we believed that it would be unconstitutional when it was passed, but the Supreme Court, I think, has gone back in and found that in 1930 something or other, there was this car tax that has since been exempted. And so the way the Constitution reads, or the way the Supreme Court interprets the Constitution, if there was a tax on the books, then just an exemption. By removing the exemption, that's not a new tax, and therefore you can do those in the last 5 days of session. I think that's how they get around the constitutionality of that question.
Okay, so we'll stay tuned to those 2 fees, still in the hands of the Oklahoma Supreme Court. And let's talk special session 2.
Sure.
Are you a proponent for one? Because it would be, what, $30,000 a day for taxpayers to fund this. Are you a proponent, and at what point do you have to call for one?
Sure. So I absolutely believe we need to have a special session. I'm with the governor on that issue. I'm disappointed that we're going to have one, because we argued, my caucus argued that cigarette fee was unconstitutional back at the end of May, and if they would have just listened to us and not passed it, we wouldn't have to come into a special session. We could have done it the right way. But as it is, with that $200 million gone, and that $200 million was allocated to 3 agencies, healthcare, mental health, and DHS. And so if we don't come back into special session and find the revenue for those agencies, they're going to take enormous cuts after they've already taken deep cuts for the last 6 years.
Okay. Scott Inman, stick with us for one more segment. We have viewer questions. Also want to touch on, you've thrown your hat in the ring for the 2018 run for governor, so I want to talk to you about that too. If you don't mind sticking around for one more segment,